Okay, so
Okay.
let me just introduce Amit. He's a affiliated researcher at the Active Inference Lab, and is building tech and product at Paperplane. His presentation is entitled "Evolution of Latent Model for Collective Cognition."
For the introduction. I'm Amit, and I've been studying some sort of inference within research as well as with how it applies in real life. So I'm just going to explain how I've come across these inferences and how I built my understanding of the latent model that I'll be describing later. So okay, so this is just an intro, just to start with, and there are three levels to it, layered on top of each other. First one being the knowledge base, where it's just random information within no context and nothing of that sort, which is being prepared by individuals, agents acting in the latent space. So from there, I build on to something called niche. A niche is more of a community level where people have different sort of affordances just to communicate, and a latent model that transfers over time within the latent space it has occupied. So these are the three outliners of my talk, and I'll be delving deep into each one with focus on the top one, which negotiates itself through time. So yeah, all right. So let me start with the knowledge base first. A good analogy that I have with knowledge base is a fractured city. So on the right, you can just see some sort of thermographs of a organized complex society that already functions to some extent, but it's not really useful. Just a compilation of facts. It's never useful. So one other thing that has to be incorporated within models and within frameworks that we are defining through time is where and how those things come into function. More of the metaphysics of the ontology that is being defined, and so how do we come about overcoming these certain like gaps in transitions from one point to another. And so I'm just introducing a concept of translation. What happens is we're just translating from one embedding to another one, and that's done through the ease of translation between two different points. So first of all, we start at T0 with none of the agents interacting and none of it making any sense. So there's no context identified. There's no interaction between the individuals in the collective. So we just start with different embeddings of it and just start traversing and connecting the dots between whatever exists. All right. Now, another concept has become and resonated more towards interacting agents and how they feel towards each other and things like that. So, this function that you see on the left bottom is just how agent navigates meta space given its own intrinsic uh, biases or intrinsic motivations given in a volume, and that's how we define a probability density of a different volume to start with. So after n iterations, n being any arbitrary number, we will find some sort of preferences that an agent really converges down to. So it won't be just some random initializations that we'll start with, but rather more of the intrinsic initial variables that a agent has, and dot producting that with the traversal volume it has, it will come along and form those ghettos in the city, as it's more analogous to that kind of analogy. So yeah, now moving on. Well, it's obviously really good to find some sort of like interest or a niche within uh, a collective, but it's not never enough until you find new affordances and something to build on top of them. So right now, what I'm trying to do is some sort of social experiments that I've been trying with a few of the market spaces. One of them being a NFT market space where I'm trying to find collaborative indexes between different artists and how they reach along their everyday day abouts, and how do they communicate and build new affordances on top of what they already have. So one thing that I really admired about that approach is how they build and really communicate within their own niche that they have built over time. So it's not just them expressing their thoughts in language. It's more about abstract ideas that they have in common with art and stuff like that. So this being one of the vertical that I've tried to work on and build a recommender engine about it. Second one being the practicing medical physicians, and this being a completely polar opposite in terms of creativity when you compare that to the artist's lane that I had just worked on. This doesn't provide me much of the wiggle room, but really explains and deals well with how medical physicians navigate through technical niches and stuff like that. So that's something I'm trying to really go through with these social experiments. So there are certain assumptions and certain metrics that I'm going about just to measure these two on same scale. First of all, being path, and path is nothing but just a communication and knowledge transfer between two different nodes. So if you just have A and B traversal that is from A to B, you'll just find the likelihood of that traversal and multiply in dot product with what we already had in the intrinsic assumptions section. So we also have within this formula applied the likelihood as well as the intrinsic motivation that the agent already has, and that's how I'm going about modeling this stuff. So once you have reached a niche, it all of the game turns towards how you really build new affordances on top of it, and it really turns really in line with your interests and how you actually communicate with the people in your niche. All right, so this is just a peek of the first two that I described, the knowledge base and the niche. I'll just try to share the latent one. Unfortunately, I don't have that in this PPT format, so I'll just switch it over here. Yeah. All right. So, what's the origin of a latent model? This being the most time I've spent on any concept in my research, it really is one of the things that really excites me and really inspires me to build multi-task models on top of what we already have. So, hugely inspired by the neuroplasticity of brain and how it adapts to new tasks depending on the latent structure of the previous tasks that it has already learned. So it's more about negotiating uncertainty with the certainty it builds over with the latent modeling and stuff like that. So it's just first of all the task really becomes estimating those meta parameters and then transitioning your task according to those meta parameters. So I'll just go about and explaining how I actually do that. All right. So another assumption that I had was your mind really does not really form um or does not really intake the whole paradigm of the whole world and the whole contrast of it. It rather forms a very narrow model of the world and goes on about forming inferences on top of it. So what I did was found a few tasks that I could represent in coordinate space and laid them down on a different simulator and observed how they interact with really forming a lot of those things. So the moving GIF that you see on the bottom is just a embedding of different tasks. And as the time goes on, you'll just find different intersections between those tasks. And it's really evident that learning a task really gives you some sort of grasp on another task if you have some sort of coordinate space in common, and really goes on about doing that. So yeah. All right. How does that learning really happen? Once you have a latent space of tasks and observations that you have, you need that to be continuous and differentiable just for the traversal to occur. And that's really feasible through the cube-like labeled divergence, that you can really form those kind of structures and a world model that's you locally, linearly, and interpolating towards different sort of different tasks. So it's not just you forming those latent model that's enough, but traversing between the latent model is also something that's really necessary. One of the examples and one of the most intriguing factors that I discovered about human intelligence is how it negotiates time with knowledge. So a metaphor and implicit knowledge transfer mechanisms, like just explaining how things take time through metaphors, like just Rome wasn't built in a day, just describes the same latent meaning over time to different civilizations, to different people, and maybe to different languages as well. So it's really that sort of elasticity that I'm looking for in machine learning models as well, so that we can just approximate some sort of meta space of tasks and interpolate between those tasks, and then just use a generative model that generates parameters from the meta space parameters that we had already constructed. So it's just a linear interpolation between the meta parameters, and then a generation process that generates new parameters based on the previous meta parameters that we had. Okay, so this is just one of the implementations that I had tried for a similar model. It did not have really that sort of implication that I expected, but found myself really engrossed in it. So, as I described earlier, just finding a linear interpolation between your meta space, the image that you see here, yeah, on the mid bottom, is just a local interpolation between the meta space, and how you generate from those meta parameters to the actual ones that really require you to solve the task is done through a generative modeling process that's really familiar to machine learning folks, through VAEs and through generative processes in cognitive sciences and in different domains as well. So once you have done that, it's just about traversing that space and how you build on top of those things. So that's being done through a lot of extrapolation in higher dimensions, but already that's nested in interpolation that we did on the metaspace that was described and well established within the locally linear regions that you can see on the bottom bed. So yeah, so that's how I'm going about describing these latent processes, and how these latent processes are really different from the first two inferential processes that I described. First one being knowledge base, and second being a niche. So in knowledge base, you did not have any sort of context, nor did you have any sort of inference based on the facts you had in the knowledge base. So it was just a collection of facts, rather a map. And what a niche provides is you finding a word and a compass to the map, rather, so that your intrinsic alignments lead you to those verticals, and those verticals, when established, really form higher level abstractions in forms of implicit knowledge. That implicit knowledge could be through metaphors. That knowledge could be through more of those implicit cognitive mechanisms. And these cognitive mechanisms are not really context dependent. So what a mind does is forms a generative model from those latent abstractions just to adapt to your particular task. And that's how a learning machine maybe could be constructed. It's just one of the proposal and rather a framework that I'm presenting. It's not something that I have tried on particular tasks. The reason being, if you want to build a general enough model for machine learning, you wouldn't really make it task specific or really test it on really a couple of tasks or the end tasks that you can really try on yourself. So the modeling process here is more of a framework, and and the generative process is the observer. So yeah, that's all I've tried doing with the latent part of the model. Now circling back to what I had already introduced first through my social experiments, and how those things imply in the latent context or the latent modeling side of things. Since we have formed verticals with artists or doctors, we can't really find any intersection between those until those affordances or affordances at that level are constructed. So once you go too deep into one vertical, you won't really find any bridges that really connect it with another one. Therefore, we need some sort of latent abstraction, some sort of latent embedding between those two verticals that is common to both, and that's how they negotiate the information between those. So first of all, we did not have any knowledge structure from the knowledge base. We formed a very niche vertical knowledge structure in the second phase. And now just to negotiate between the two, I think it becomes a sort of necessity to form high level abstractions like language, like culture, and and a lot of high level abstractions that helps navigating the agent or agents into different verticals just to negotiate different entities or just to negotiate different ideas. Yeah, I think that's all I have for this. Yeah, I'll just test out. Okay. All right. So that's all for the experiments as well as the theory that I had underpinning to the experiments. But as time goes on, I'll just find out how will they align with what I have, just because of the fact that I have some sort of theory and math behind my intuition does not really imply how will it will translate into the real life society and the complex dynamics of these niches like artists and medical physicians and stuff like that. So what I'll do is keep on expanding on those niches, and while in those niches, maybe try to form some sort of latent model that helps them negotiate. And if that's true, I think the research project and the research initiative that I'm just trying to confer and really build on top of is true as well. So it's not just a paper or just a thought process that I have in mind. It's more of a proof of concept that I want from the real world. So establishing some sort of feedback through research and development that I've come through to this standstill. I'll just be trying to bridge these two, the development and research, as time goes on and find out how my feedback loop performs and really build on top of what I already have. So yeah, thank you for listening. I think I'm done with my presentation.
Sorry, hi. Thanks for your talk.
Hi, Marco.
I'm not sure if Mahal is here to allow me to make questions, but yeah, I couldn't follow all the formalism. I'm not too great at it, but it definitely seemed very interesting, and I agree that I share your interest in this whole question of the origin of latent spaces and its relation to transfer learning. And I'm very curious how it exactly maps onto the the vanilla active inference stuff, because the meta latent space sounded really interesting, and I'm curious if you've explored how it exactly maps onto the formalism in active inference for how higher levels contextualize the lower level beliefs or models. Is it like the same, or are there interesting nuances to maybe explore? Would love to hear that.
Yeah, sure. So the way I've explored active inference is through surprisal minimization most of the time. So what happens is if you don't really know how the world works, everything is a surprise for you. So finding some sort of a meta space is a good start, just to build your theories on top of what you already know from the previous tasks is a good way to start from. So I think that's where a bit of the component from active inference comes in, which is just minimizing your surprisal from a random set of tasks or random set of actions you can do to confining yourself to those meta space parameters.
Mm-hmm. And so would you say that the what would be the order of constructing models? Like for example, you have incomplete or imprecise models at one level, and you create a meta latent space, and that will also facilitate the exploration of models below, right? So you have this kind of flexibility. You just go to the level at which a surprisal minimization or Fenger minimization would be most feasible, I would assume. And then because of the meta or lower higher relation, you get this transfer learning for free, I would assume.
Yeah, I think so. It's more about the feedback that you get from the environment that matters. So once you're traversing those layers, as you described, I don't think settling on a layer that has zero deviance from your expectations is a good choice.
No. Other way around, right? So
exactly.
So you go to a layer where the gains information would be most optimal, not just the gain of information or learning in one level, but also taking into account the degree to which learning at one level would transfer to other levels, right?
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do as well. Like, it's not just about the layers that I'm taking feedback in. It's more of the framework and the model that I've described that I'm trying to take feedback from. So it's not really a concrete model up till this point, as I would describe it. So what this needs is more of a feedback from real society. So it's not really digging deep into academia and really finding out how well your theories perform and how it goes down. It's more about how it really integrates with the real world. That's why I transitioned a bit towards building products and a bit towards engineering side, just to complete the feedback loop.
Wait, but when you say real world, do you mean like brains, or do you mean you want to apply this in machine learning for actual data analysis, like actual machine learning systems?
Okay, I mean it could be applied to machine learning systems for sure, but but since studying a bit of neuroscience and getting into active inference, I have become inclined towards studying natural intelligence and finding out how it translates to machine intelligence. So in this way, I'm just trying to find out how the complex societies function between these two niches, and maybe get some sort of valuable feedback from those, and then build on from there.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much.